All right, welcome to the official Livingston Parish Ordinance Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, August the 16th, and it is 6:17 per that clock on the wall. 18. I was a little late. The meeting was supposed to start at 6, and I appreciate everybody for coming out tonight and staying and to help us discuss this ordinance and possibly make some recommendations / modifications and recommend that to the council. You know, so we had a meeting 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we took some notes and we talked and discussed a lot about definitions and things, and people voiced their concern and some of the problems what they felt about this ordinance. And we have another meeting tonight, and we're going to go over maybe a little bit of those concerns, kind of just do a little a quick review, you know, and then I'm going to introduce a potential modification that I feel will be what's best for the people in Livingston Parish. Let me say it like that. And I think that majority of you in the audience could possibly be satisfied after you see and hear these modifications. Yeah. So once again, thank y'all for coming out tonight, and we're starting this meeting as soon as Mr. Bubba comes back here and sits by me. And
you need a bodyguard?
I told you.
Yeah, that's what it is. You need a bodyguard.
Okay, and I just want to say a few things. You know, tonight, you know, like I say, this is an official ordinance committee meeting, but we don't have a quorum. Okay, so we won't be able to vote. So we can recommend a change to the council. But what we can do is we can still talk about it, and we can, you know, listen to the voice of the people and talk about some potential modifications. And even though that we don't vote tonight to make changes, we can still, a councilman can still, you know, place an item on the agenda and introduce some modifications to this ordinance to the council to where changes could be made. You know, so don't think that this is not just as important as last time just because, you know, we don't have a quorum tonight. You know, it's just as important, you know, to me. And we just can't vote to recommend a change. You know, we can still put it on the agenda and introduce the change later on in the future. So, but I don't know if we'll get to that or not. We'll see how far we get into this. First of all, does everybody have a copy of the old ordinance? You know, are you familiar with the old ordinance says? I think it's important you have that, you know, so when we refer to something, you know, we all on the same page. And then, hey, I wanted to call you back today. I didn't have time. I was on the phone with Sam. I had to get off the phone with Sam today. I'm like, dude, I gotta go. I know I called you and begged you to call me, but I gotta go. Okay, great. That's awesome news. And so just to review some of the things we went over last time quickly, in the definition section, let's see, we went over what abandoned inoperable vehicle means. We talked about, you know, how antique vehicles didn't meet the definition or were exempt, basically. We talked about what an antique vehicle was. We talked about, does campers qualify, you know, being that they have wheels, and and stuff such as that. Okay? Let me just go ahead and skip straight to it. Does everybody have a copy? Did we make copies of the
recodification?
the recodification? Okay.
Well, I have.
It's okay.
I have some. I
Yeah.
have about 5 copies.
Mr. Bubba has it. Okay.
Got it. I've got about 5 copies I can put out there. It's just, we discussed the numbers being different because of the recodification.
Yeah, you can go make copies.
I've got 5 here.
Oh,
Want me to go ahead and-
yeah, you can pass them out. I think it's a good idea.
Have you read over this?
The recodification part? Yeah. Are you okay with it?
And it don't have anything to do with private property. It's all public property.
I know.
And I think that's a good thing.
I thought about it for 3 or 4 weeks. I've been praying about it. I think it's a good thing too. I didn't know how you were going to feel about it.
How who was?
You?
No, I thought about it, and I'm like you. I prayed about it too, so. I just don't think
We'll talk about it. We'll get into it.
we need to go on private property.
I don't think we do either. I know Jeff's against it. Jeff Avery.
Yeah.
Okay, so I apologize for that, I don't know what you want to call that pause in our meeting, but I thought it was important to pass out those documents because I think a lot of people have thought long and hard over the last 8 weeks since we made those modifications, started talking about those modifications to, have the licensed record services go on private property. We talked, and to have that list and develop that method of payment and all that kind of stuff. And, after meeting with you guys and talking to several people in the public and getting several opinions and reading what was recommended, I don't know if you all know, but let me just explain a little bit about this. About a year and a half ago, we realized that the Livingston Parish ordinances were sometimes very difficult to read and understand, to maybe look up what you were trying to do and see what the law was that applied to what you were trying to do. So we hired a firm, a consulting firm, to go through all of the Livingston Parish ordinances, okay? And what this consulting firm, it's a legal group, is doing is they're going through and they're looking at some of the outdated parts of our ordinances, and they're looking at the ordinances where we have, a certain topic in this section, and then another topic in this section over here, and what we're trying to do is make it clearer to where all can understand it, easily look it up on the internet and that type of stuff, okay? Say that again? It's called recodification, okay?
Yeah.
And now, of course, this group of consultants can't really change anything. We hired them to review it and recommend changes and make it better. Now, what they're going to do is after they have reviewed it and they've worked with us to go through all those changes, we're going to bring it back to the council, and the council would have to vote on those changes for it to actually be a change and become the new law, okay? That being said, I hope I explained that a little, pretty good, of what that is. That particular group is called Municode, okay? And you can go on the Livingston Parish website today, and you can go on Municode, and you can actually look up the current ordinances that apply to our the code of ordinances that apply today, And so we had a meeting with these individuals, this organization, and one of the changes they recommended, and I feel like it's needed, and I think that it'll solve a lot of the concerns that y'all have, is to change the definition of what an abandoned inoperable vehicle is. And so I'm going to read to you what the change is, and we'll talk about it, and we can talk about anything y'all want in this ordinance here. I need to get out here for 7:30 because I have somewhere to be at 8 o'clock, and it's 30 minutes away. So,
30 minutes. You said you gotta be done here.
I got to be here. I got to be out of here by 7:30 because I got to pick my little girl up at 8 o'clock, and it's a 30-minute drive. Okay, so we got an hour, and we're going to make it. Okay. So what I did, well, it ain't just me, and let me just go ahead and say, this is not a change at this particular moment in time. It takes majority vote of the council to actually make this change. Okay, but what I think is best is to recommend this change to the council to make our lives and make Livingston Parish a better place. Okay, so if you go to the definition section, okay, of the current ordinance, and you look up abandoned inoperable vehicle and what it means. Okay, we talked about that last time. A lot of people had some issues with that. It currently says that abandoned inoperable vehicle means any junked, wrecked, or dismantled vehicle or any part or parts thereof which is incapable of being lawfully moved upon the highways and streets. Vehicles which are otherwise in compliance with that state statute, you know, they can't get an inspection sticker, are not considered, vehicles are otherwise if they're in compliance with that state statute, they're not considered to be an abandoned vehicle. Inoperable vehicles for the purposes of this article. Furthermore, lack of current and or valid registration, inspection, or license plate alone does not constitute an abandoned vehicle. Okay, but, and then it listed out, you know, what the exemptions were. Okay. The change that I want to recommend or feel like we should change is this. If we change that definition, okay, and in the new definition of an abandoned vehicle would be this, okay? Abandoned motor vehicle means a motor vehicle that is inoperable and is left unattended on public property for more than 24 hours, or is inoperable and left unattended on the shoulder or right-of-way of an interstate or a 4-lane highway. Now, I want to add something there. I want to say, you know, parish right-of-way or parish road, any type of or state road.
Right.
Okay, we're going to add that there. This don't say it, but I'd like to add that there. You know. Okay, right here is where I need to add that. That would, or a 4-lane highway. After the 4-lane highway is where I want to add that.
Okay.
Any type of public right-of-way, parish right-of-way. Say that again.
The owner of the vehicle could park their vehicle on my property. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, that definition's going to cover this, I think.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and finish this, okay? Okay, so if you leave that and it's abandoned for more than 24 hours, or a motor vehicle that has remained illegally on public property for a period of more than 24 hours, or a motor vehicle that has remained on private property, now listen to this, without the consent of the owner or person in control of the property for more than 3 days.
Correct.
That's right. Because if you own a piece of property and somebody drops their car off on your property and you don't want it there, you already have the right to get it moved off your property. Okay? But I think that if we made this modification, you would not be able to go on private property and tow somebody's vehicle anymore.
When you say on the street, that means on part of the public right of way?
That's right.
Or it's like you got a utility right-of-way servitude, I guess is what you call it.
Right.
I want to add, I didn't write it up, man. I've been really busy over the last 2 weeks. I was late today. But what you want to do there is any type of public servitude, right-of-way, roadway, you know, it could be a drainage servitude, any type of, you know, something like that.
So that includes like a power line or
Yeah.
any kind of utilities?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
along the side of the road?
Well,
If it's, maybe not a light pole in your yard, but it would have to be a dedicated public servitude, public right-of-way.
And I don't
Something like
know if
that.
a power line would even be under that.
How's about this? I mean, just.
No, I take any recommendation. It don't,
Is- Why don't you just state that any vehicle that is not owned by the owner of the property it is on can be towed away? Takes care of everything. In other words,
That is a
if-
loophole. That is a loophole.
how?
Okay, that if you don't own the vehicle, say, your neighbor calls in a complaint because they don't like the vehicle, they think it's a nuisance. You might not own
But-
the vehicle, but you told your buddy, hey, you can park on my property for
But
a
then
while.
he has permission.
Right, but you didn't specify that.
Well,
This is law, it's got to be specified.
well, again.
I think the definition we have here, what we want to do is we want to, if it's on public right-of-way or servitude or street, and it's in the way and it's a hazard and a danger, the law should have the right to get it out of the way.
What
You know.
about the servitude like on the back side of the property where there's no road and there's no way to actually
Yes, I have that on my
get to it?
property.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's get Mr. Gordon Courtney from Holden, Louisiana, who currently lives in Albany.
Well, I was-
He's raising his hand. He's
I was gonna
got something to
ask
say.
the same question because, you might wanna check this out with Chris, but when you have a servitude on a piece of property, you still own that. You're just granting servitude. So like if I buy a piece of property on a roadway and I have to, and 25 feet of it is for servitude to the roadway, it's still included in my acreage. So it could always be the argument.
You're right about that, but this is why you can't park or leave something like that in a servitude. Not that we're going to automatically come tow it, but listen to this and see if you agree with this. Okay, if I have a drainage servitude and the parish has rights to that drainage servitude, or if it's a gravity drainage district that has rights to that drainage servitude, and they want to come in there and clean the ditch out. Well, if you got all these vehicles parked in the way that can't be moved, then they can't come clean the ditch. Now, another thing, you got a servitude on your property that accesses 2 pieces of property behind you. Well, if you go pile up a bunch of cars right there, then you can't get to the property behind you. So to me,
Servitude is servitude.
if you got a servitude,
We have cases.
you don't want to, you can't even put a fence there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because you're blocking access, and that's what the servitude is all about. You know what I mean? So that's how
That's what I was
Look.
gonna bring up too.
yeah, you
We've
don't want
had
to do
that
that.
happen recently too.
Yeah, we have.
They want the ditches cleaned out, but they don't want to take the fences down for the parish to get in there so they can do it.
Stay out of my ditch.
Well, I'm gonna take the fence down.
So I mean, if it's a servitude, you know, the purpose of that servitude is for that, you know, then I mean, you really don't want to block that and deny the people the whole intent and purpose of that servitude. So do we want to read this definition one more time? I mean, basically,
That's great. You're just effectively saying you don't get to come on my property and take stuff just because you decide it looks trashy.
that's right.
Yeah, that's great.
Well,
That's
and also-
excellent. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, if it's on state or private or public property in any way, take it. But
Right.
if you go on a private property, I have a big problem.
Right, that's everything.
Well, I have this one particular area in my district. And, well, it's Plantation Estates. It's a big, nice subdivision. but they've got houses in there that's been abandoned. They've got cars that's still up under the carport and all this kind of stuff, you know. And they concerned with that.
Did they
And
have
I
a
don't blame them
homeowners
for that.
association?
Ma'am,
I'm sorry, did they have a homeowners association?
I was getting to
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry, that's what I was curious about.
And then they have another house that's just right around the corner from that one, you might say. It has like 6 or 7 vehicles just piled up in the front yard.
Do you know the make and model? I might need one of them.
Go by and see them.
So what you're saying
I
is
think
that
that-
these people in the plantation estates, they don't really like what other people do on their property, correct?
Correct. I mean,
By the property.
they've been,
You know, that's not their property, that's someone else's property with their property upon their property.
Right.
I've got neighbors, I don't like the way they do their houses, I don't like the junk they have in there, but that is private property.
And it's an unfortunate price of freedom.
It
That's
really
what I'm
is.
getting
It
at,
really
is
is.
I don't like the trashiness either, but it is a price. If there's not a homeowners association, then.
well, they have a homeowners
then they
association.
need to enforce it.
Well, now,
It left after the flood. I mean, so many people left and everything, but
Yeah.
now they're trying to get it back again. And once they do, they're gonna have their own attorneys and all that, and they can fight that problem, you know.
and it'll
Right,
become a
right.
civil
That
matter.
shouldn't be- That shouldn't be
Right.
criminal charges, that shouldn't be taxpayer dollars spent on that, because they entered into agreement with the homeowner association. The homeowner association needs to take the initiative and deal with this problem.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
So it sounds like that's already covered.
Yeah,
Uh,
where you have a homeowner association, it is.
Right.
But if you don't, then that's what I'm saying, that's just an unfortunate price of freedom, where you might not like the color I paint my house, I might not like your trash in your yard, but there's not anything, you know, we didn't go somewhere with an association telling us what we can and can't do.
I agree with you on freedom up to a certain point, and none of us are really free.
There's no certain point.
Yeah, either are or you aren't.
Right.
I
Well,
mean, that's freedom of speech. I mean, that's a zero.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
And then let me say, yeah, those are good points. I want to say this. This here ordinance, I think we got the problem solved. You're not gonna be able to come on private property and tow vehicles anymore that basically ain't hurting anybody. It, you know. However, say you pile garbage on your property and you just mounds of it, you know, that really should go into a garbage can and go to the dump, and you're polluting the environment and it's hazardous to others and all that kind of stuff. Now, I think that's where you kind of cross the line. You know what I'm talking about? And I think that,
Anybody ever had a problem with hazards, that was never the issue. The issue is when you start saying that an eyesore, that is where all of it came into play.
That's right.
If it's a hazard, nobody,
Yeah,
you know,
if it's a
sees
health
it, it should
hazard,
be taken care
I'm
of.
all for it.
You know,
Right.
I noticed last.
and I know where there's a couple like that too.
right.
Take care of
And, you know,
it.
it's,
You guys argue.
So you would be okay with that, you know, I mean.
Well, they just piled up everything in the yard.
State or the parish.
Yes, indeed.
That's a burden of proof.
Right.
well, yeah, I mean, who is gonna decide what's a nuisance? Who is gonna decide what's a health hazard?
Right, is it subjective or?
Well, whenever they have rats and snakes and everything else going into the neighbor's house,
I have that. in
This
my
Livingston
yard.
Parish, you're gonna have rats and snakes going in there.
Let's have a little bit more orderly here, a little more formal. We've got a gentleman in the back with his hand up that has something to say.
I like what you're saying about, you know, rewording the paragraph, and you're going to go in and find a way to address the servitude and.
Parish right-of-ways and stuff.
Parish right-of-way. But then, I guess I'd like to agree with everyone else pretty much. My big thing about, this whole ordinance is, it smells of taxation without representation, because you're using parish dollars, taxpayer dollars, to basically implement a program that benefits some and hurts others. And I don't think that's what the parish council is elected to do. I think the parish council is elected to move Livingston Parish forward for all of its residents and not pick winners and losers. And any time that you have an ordinance, I think the first thing that should be looked at is, are we creating winners and are we creating losers? And could the money that is used to implement this program be better spent somewhere else? If you're gonna pull somebody from DPW to handle complaints for automobiles in people's yards, why couldn't that same person be used to isolate and identify drainage problems in the same parish and say, hey, we have a system here where, because these culverts are crushed, it's now allowing water to drain, water sitting, creating problems with mosquitoes. I think that would be a better utilization of the parish's tax revenues, rather than having somebody out there checking on people's properties to see how many cars they have. Getting back to the ordinance, however, on section 22-54, is that going to be changed at all? Because it says here, except as otherwise provided herein, the provisions of this article shall be administered and enforced by the sheriff. And then it says that they enter upon private or public property to examine vehicles and their parts thereof. So that's still is a bit of a gray area on the opportunity for someone
I'm gonna go-
into their private property.
I want to make sure I understand what you're saying, but basically I'm telling you that I can't make any changes without majority vote of the council.
Correct.
But what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna go in and change the definition and go through here and modify this entire thing to not allow them to go on private property and tow vehicles.
Dictate their will.
Right. So, and I really think that majority of the council, I can only speak for myself, but I think for the most part, they're gonna approve those changes. Now, I know that some of it down below, right, it still talked about private stuff and all this kind of stuff, but I think if we change that definition and we go through here and we kind of change it to where we don't allow them to go on that private property and tow that just because it doesn't look good, I think it solves the problem. I'm not sure I answered all your questions, Mr. Courtney, but I can tell you this. The drainage issues that we have from basically where the gravity drainage districts end all the way to Tangipahoa Parish, from St. Helena to Lake Marpaw, there's a plan to fix that over the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And it's a well thought out plan, and it's going to work. It's just sometimes it takes time to fix these kind of problems, So, does anybody else have a question or a comment?
I have this question, and I don't want to sound negative or positive either way. If we change this, how will that eliminate the old cars in Plantation Estates? Is this something the neighbors need to just call and say, hey, can we help you get rid of this junk? Or is this something that somebody can call and say, hey, we want to give you $50 a car and we'll haul them all off? Or is this, how is this going to address, how are we going to address those issues?
Well, in that particular case, we're gonna leave it up to the homeowners association.
Okay.
Good idea.
Yeah.
When you have a homeowners association, I feel it's more of a civil matter than a criminal matter. And it's-
Yeah.
That's the one thing that bothered me most about this ordinance, was that you were basically creating criminals.
Yeah.
You can put them in jail for 6 months, really? I do have a question here, and I really like the amendment that you've made. By the way, my name is Will Wagner. I'm the chairman of the Livingston Parish Libertarian Party. It's my first time here, and glad to be here. So, who's going to pay for it when you tow the car?
Oh, good, great question. From what I understand, and we could talk about it more, and we don't have to vote on this until we actually put it in writing, like you said, because you want to take all the gray out if you can.
Right.
The licensed record services that's on the list that's generated by the planning director have agreed to tow the vehicle for the salvage cost of the vehicle. So there's no cost to the taxpayer.
Excellent, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't think they pay us for y'all.
And so let's go back one more thing so nobody's confused. What if you had a nice car and you, I don't know, you just decided to leave it and, I don't know, run off for a couple of months, you know, and they towed your vehicle to a record service? Well, guess what we did? We changed that ordinance and we said it's got to go to a licensed record service and it's got to have a 6-foot fence and all this kind of stuff, right? Remember that? Well, it's going to sit there and it's going to collect fees and all that kind of stuff. And if you want your vehicle back, you're going to have to pay to get it back.
Right.
But if you don't want it back, they're going to salvage it and it's going to be no cost, added cost to the taxpayer.
Right.
That's what I was trying to
That's
say.
very
I just want to make sure I answered that correctly.
Now, yeah, no, that's great, but how about a time limit? How long are they gonna have to reclaim their vehicle? If, as you say, they decide to just run off and run crazy for a couple months?
Well, that was the other.
Don't
question.
abandon it.
No, I agree with you, I would never, but,
I don't know the answer to that question. I could write that down and try to see what the answer is. What does the state law say? I don't
I
know.
believe it's 30 days.
I would think something like that.
And like,
which is a reasonable amount of
you
time.
know, with Hurricane Katrina happening, there were people that were put on buses to evacuate and had no way of returning on their own for over a year. So an ordinance that only
That's
requires,
pretty
that
good
only allows,
circumstances, though. That's,
I mean, that's a, you know, it's a.
Yeah, I think that's a
very
little different
unique
situation, you know.
It is, but
Yeah.
he is right on one thing with the law, it does allow for that to just
Yeah.
happen. So,
again, that would be a civil matter to sue the parish or whoever, since you didn't have the right to go back to get that vehicle.
Usually, too, guys,
Exactly.
whenever there's a natural disaster such as that,
Everything's-
we go in and we write emergency ordinances to override ordinances. So what you would do in that situation, if possible, get to the phone and call your councilman and tell him, look, man, it's going to be 6 months to a year before I can go get my car. This is a natural disaster. This is an emergency situation. Don't go tow my car. I'm sure that the parish and everybody else would work
Because
some type of
again,
agreement
in
out.
New Orleans, I physically watched automobiles leaving one property and wound up a mile down the road, just floating down
Yeah.
Main Street, or no streets actually.
No streets, yeah.
I mean, I was in a boat, doing what I had to do, and was watching people's vehicles and belongings and people and a lot of other stuff just going down the way, just following the current.
I do feel that this council would do, you know, the best interest of that extenuation.
And we
Yeah.
actually saw some things similar to that, not that bad, in our flood.
Oh,
We had in
We have boats
2000.
hanging all over the telephone poles.
So I got one more question if you don't mind, then I'll try to leave.
We'll take them all till 7:30.
Okay.
So,
We crossed out not more than $200 or more than 30 days in jail, or both with discretion of the judge provided. That's crossed out. So is that just going to be an open-ended fine, or are we just doing away with fines completely?
Hold on, I got to follow you. Where are you at?
24.
22-24 violations and penalties.
22 dash, what?
Oh, right here.
Or does that belong to Article
Down
4?
that recodification
Look.
on
It's on the first page.
It's on the first page.
On the first page, yeah. Is that addressing a different ordinance?
22-24, that's what you're talking about?
Right, on
Yes.
the proofs that she handed out
Yeah.
to us?
Yeah, that's a different ordinance.
Okay, that's a different ordinance, so we...
Yeah, that's a totally different, separate
Okay, just
situation.
wanted to make sure on that one.
Yep.
So,
And so the guy in the purple had a question?
Basically the same one.
Okay.
It says shall be fined. You don't, if there's a strike through, that means that it's an open-ended fine.
That right there is a different,
Choose any value they want.
it's a different ordinance, and that's a different recommendation by the Municode group that'll be looked at and talked about and voted on. That doesn't have anything to do with the abandoned car ordinance.
Oh, okay.
okay, well, speaking of that, then...
It says on
Yeah, it's a-
section
it's a-
Let's let this
5.5
nice lady in the back ask a question.
On section 5.5-36, failure to comply.
All right, hold on.
It's on
5.5
the new, it's on the updated version, not the old.
dash 36.
Good page.
It's on the back of the first page. That's where it
hold on.
That's where it addresses the fines.
Okay, failure to comply, that's correct. Thank you for adding
So
that.
that is the updated, and it's $500 fine,
Right.
or 6 months, or both. It also states that each offense is a misdemeanor, but every day can be counted as a separate offense. So if you are over 5 days, that's 5 misdemeanors you just got.
And
So I think, I know drug dealers that hadn't got that much at our courts. I mean, just being honest. I've sat in the Livingston Parish Courthouse, so I know.
right, is the fine set, and it won't exceed the $500, or could it be added on every day?
Every day it says.
Every day according to this,
The
but
way
if you,
That's,
but if you
It
change
should
the
be
definition of
per-
abandoned vehicle, that throws pretty much the rest of the ordinance out, because if you're gonna do it within 24 hours, the whole 15-day thing's gone.
Yeah, we're gonna have to completely go through every little section and make sure it complies with the original
What you said
definition.
earlier is that, if you're gonna go to public or state right-of-ways or servitudes or highways or roads and such, then you could strike that completely.
Yeah, you can put a big
Other
X in
things-
that page, basically,
Yeah,
because
and-
it's not costing the parish anything if the tow companies are doing that, if I
Right.
worked out that deal. Therefore, the rest of,
There shouldn't be a
the
fine.
rest of the ordinance is null and void. So
I
you should
agree.
just cross it out and make it real easy.
It's all worked out.
It's a win-win for the parish, for the people, and for the contractor that's towing the vehicle.
Both boosting business.
I agree.
Also, I would like to add, myself, this should only cover tax items.
Say that again?
Such
Loud.
as,
What'd you say?
This ordinance should only cover tax items such as a vehicle, for transport on the road. It should not affect things like a four-wheeler or a lawnmower or ATV of any type.
Well, if you left your four-wheeler in the parish right away,
It's not gonna last very long by law anyway.
we're gonna tow it too.
And you wouldn't have to go get it, somebody would steal it everywhere.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna pick that stuff up for you.
Well, I'm just saying,
I need that.
the definition will cover that because it's a lot more clearer,
If it's abandoned, it's abandoned.
but, right, I
It's a
mean,
motor vehicle.
Yeah, well, I mean, people put their vehicles out to the road as well, to sell on their own private property.
Yeah, but it's on private
Right,
property,
so
it's
he's
not
already
on
taken
the
care of it.
servitude.
Yeah,
Some people have to put their vehicle right on the servitude.
Well, that's
in
a
order
different
to
story,
sell.
yeah, but it's not abandoned.
not abandoned.
Yeah.
So,
If they come to ask you to move it.
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna ask? There's a for sale sign on it.
Does anybody else have any comments?
just one question. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going.
The question I have is, let's say I go off on my month ride, some wild green. I have a car sitting there, it's not licensed, it's on the right of way. I parked it there, or somebody delivered it there and dropped it off. I come back and I find out it's been towed. I find out it's stored at the storage yard and it's been there for a month. I found out the storage fee is $280 and then the storage fee of the lot winds up being $780. Now I got a $900 bill. Is there going to be a limit on what they can charge for storage and for towing?
Good question.
In other words, are they going to say they get the salvage right for the towing fee? Well, the towing fee is $250. But then when they want to haul your car when it's in an accident to their yard because they get a storage fee.
Right.
And it's like $20 a day. It might be more than that, I don't know, but I mean, and and I know this is a wild,
No, there should be a.
ain't never gonna happen. But because I'm not gonna have a car delivered on the right of way because I know the law now, but I mean, is there gonna be a limitation on what they can charge for salvage value of the car? You follow what I'm asking? In other words, 'cause I know,
What I'm saying is this, what I'm saying is there are state laws to cover that type of thing, and state law underwrites this. And
State law for storage is $29 a day,
listen,
and I believe it's $160 for
if you were
the tow.
gonna go on a trip like you first described, you're not gonna leave your vehicles in the streets and in the public
No,
right
but
of
if it's
ways.
on the right of way, let's say, and like I say, let's say my brother brings a vehicle home for me and he parks it there, it's not licensed, it's not that, and he can't get into my gate and it happens to be on the right of way. And then somebody comes along and tows it off, and now lo and behold, it's in the storage yard for a month, and don't say I don't go off for a month, because I've been known to do it a couple of times. And I get back and I find out now I got a $29 a day for 30 days, plus the tow fee on something that I wasn't there to defend myself on. Because the guy's gonna say, boy, this is a nice piece of junk he got here, and I can make money off of it. I just gotta make it where he don't want it, because the price is so much. And that's the issue, I mean, the question I had is there a limit that they can charge? Can they only charge up to the salvage value of the car? Or are they gonna go further on and make money off of you if you want it back? Say it's sentimental, and it was delivered to me, and they haul it off. Well, now they're playing on sentiment. So, I mean, it's just a question. I hope it never happens, but.
It's a hypothetical, they're
Well,
a real world.
didn't you say earlier that the record service, all of them that are gonna be on the list, would just take what the salvage fee would be?
If you don't want the car back.
If you don't want the car back, if
Okay.
you want the car back, you gotta pay their fees.
Then you can pay the $29 a day storage plus
Plus the tow
the
fee.
tow. That's just the law.
That's the, yeah.
I mean, that's got nothing to do with you.
At some point, personal responsibility has to come.
Exactly. You have to have some personal
At some
responsibility.
point, you have to take
I mean,
responsibility.
let's be realistic here. If I'm going off, and I've done it too, I just got back from Gatlinburg, and I went for a month, but when I left, I made sure that my children knew, look, here's the key, take care of the house, make sure everything's done.
You have children though.
Well, okay, neighbors,
I
family, some
wouldn't trust
family.
my neighbor.
Well,
Let's see what Mr. Gordon's got to say back there.
Well, I'm in agreement. One of my concerns at the council meeting when we were addressing this ordinance is that I felt there should be a cap, because I felt that there might be the opportunity for a record service to select a car that has, it could be a classic car, or it could be a car that could be parted out, and it could generate a certain amount of revenue. And so they would be more inclined to perhaps pursue keeping that car than something that was strictly a salvage car. But my other concern is, the first ordinance was passed in 1997. And until the council started trying to amend the ordinance, most of the people in the parish weren't even aware the ordinance existed. The same problem is going to exist with this amended ordinance, and people are not going to realize that if their car breaks down on the road, that they only have 24 hours to get that car off the road. And you're going to have good people that are going to be struggling to try to get their car back off the road and maybe have it towed before they have a chance to get it. So either there has to be a good amount of notification and education to the residents of the parish, or perhaps there has to be maybe a little bit more than 24 hours for them to get that car off the road. I think 24 hours sounds like a long time, but in everybody's busy day and with all the problems people have today, 24 hours
Right, because
happens real quick.
What if you say it's 48 hours?
Well, I think 48 hours.
And it's still there.
I think 48 hours gives a person a reasonable amount of time to make arrangements to get, they may not be able to get it moved in 24 hours if they can't get someone to move it for them. It may take more than 24 hours to
'Cause now they
secure
are.
somebody to move it. So,
Okay, let me say a few things there. Let me answer that question, how I think I should answer it. We're gonna have to take our time on this before we recommend those modifications. Look at this one more time after we make all the modifications, because if it's on the state highway, then you're gonna have to follow the state law, and there's state laws on how long you can leave it there. Okay, so if it's parish, okay, well then you're gonna need to follow the parish law.
Is it a safety
And-
net? Yeah.
And we'll look at that and we will try to figure out what the state law is and we won't contradict it. Let me see.
We all know we've
What
seen
was your
cars
other
sitting
question?
outside the interstate for a week.
I mean, here's what I wanted to say. I kind of lost this as you kept talking, but if it's hazardous to society and it's going to cause possibly for somebody to get hurt, I mean, we're going to come get it.
Immediately.
Oh, yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's
And
a
if
law
your fault,
already
it's going to
existing
cost
for
you.
that.
I don't know what else to say.
There's already a law in existence for that.
Yeah.
State troopers, let me just give you an example.
Yeah.
State troopers, we never did, it wasn't our policy, but it is state policy, that if the vehicle is stopped, and let's say they have no proof of insurance, well, they stick that big orange sticker in the back window, everybody's seen it, and it's parked on the side of the interstate or parked on the side of the road somewhere. They have 48 hours to secure that vehicle legally, either put it on a record, get insurance on it, and they can drive it off. That would fall, put a sticker on the window, and that way they're notified, you don't have to go to their house. That's already a state law. You can put a sticker in that rear window that
Right.
notifies
There's
the owner of that
laws for that.
vehicle, you have 48 hours.
Look, the biggest
to
concern we
remove this
had
vehicle.
was towing people's private vehicles on private property.
Exactly.
It
Right.
fixed it.
That was the
That was
main
the
one.
main thing.
And we're gonna go through here and make sure
Yeah,
that
and that
we
was really
don't mistakenly leave
that.
something that's gonna cost that.
There's already a state law as far as
Yeah.
the time limit.
Yeah.
I had a concern about the, okay, so you said by redefining this definition of right-of-way and being on the right-of-way, that it would alleviate a lot of the private property concerns. Would that eliminate the necessity to have a shed or a garage or workshop to store a vehicle in, so that it's not an eyesore?
Yeah, if they can't go on the
Yeah.
and take the vehicle, then that's the problem.
Yeah, you can leave your car wherever you want on the private property, as long as it's not in a servitude.
And he kind of touched upon it, and I don't know how to say this very eloquently, but if the tow companies have a financial incentive to come tow your car, where does the complaint have to come from? Who gets to say, like, who gets to complain about your vehicle?
Nobody can just come tow your
Right.
private
Well-
stuff without following the state or parish law.
Right, they still have due process.
Yeah.
They have to be notified and be aware.
I mean, you got to understand too that,
Come on,
you got to understand that the law has to be followed and that, I mean, if somebody comes and takes your stuff, it doesn't really matter who it is. Well, you can file a suit against them and go to court and let the judge decide.
I'm glad we agree on that now.
Well,
I'm just saying,
that's what he's saying. He's pushing that.
Right, that's
They
great.
can't
What
come on private
what
property.
you're saying is the state's gonna come in here, or the parish is gonna come in here and say, your car's parked on the road, you got 48 hours to move, and then they're gonna call the tow company to come get it, right?
Absolutely, that's already a state law.
Yeah.
It's already a state law.
Awesome. So you're gonna go back over this and all this, and,
And what I was going to say, you
Already
can
know.
piggyback on that by putting your own sticker in the rear of a window.
I think that we'll probably have the modifications made and ready to go before the council in about 4 to 6 weeks.
I like the idea of not going on any private property.
Yeah.
That was my main concern.
Give me 4 to 6 weeks. I think we're going to fix that problem.
all
Absolutely.
right, so it'll be tabled until then?
Not really tabled. We're working on getting some of the questions answered, you know, about state laws and stuff, because we don't want to contradict. And then we're gonna make the modifications and get it all uniform, and then introduce it.
But until then, this law is still enforceable, technically.
So this law is
Correct.
titled as Article 3, Abandoned and Inoperative Motor Vehicles on Private Property.
Good. Well, I'm good.
He's already doing away with it.
Okay,
That's going to be
I
next.
think we're ready to get out of here.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
I
that.
second.
All in favor?
I'm ready to adjourn.